Welcome to the Leadership Lecture Series. Today I want to talk about NAFCON, that is the National Fertilizer Company in Port Harcourt. I have never worked in NAFCON, but when I was in Fertilizer Company in Kaduna, we were reporting to the same Ministry of Industry. So I interacted a lot with the staff of NAFCON. And I was conversant with, and many of them were colleagues in the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers anyway. So the history of NAFCON started a long time ago with a debate about which of the raw materials should be used. Should it be naphtha, a product of petroleum refining, or natural gas? During Obasanjo and Erado's time, they decided to use natural gas. And they floated a tender for setting up a fertilizer plant. And two companies responded. One was M.W. Kellogg of US. The other one was an Italian company. When the tender was evaluated, they decided that the M.W. Kellogg bid was better, but the Kellogg bid was 157 million naira, whereas the Italian company was 150 million. Now that brought another delay because Obasanjo refused. He said he was going to, he liked the M.W. Kellogg bid, but they would have to do it at 150 million. This went on for some time until the president of M.W. Kellogg flew to Nigeria and sought an appointment with Obasanjo, who told him the reason why he was insisting on $150 million was because he knows the Nigerian society, he knows the Nigerian people. If he gave it at that contract, at that price of 157, they would say that $7 million was pocketed by him. So because of that, the president of Kellogg agreed. He said, okay, let's do it at that price, no problem. Unfortunately, this happened in 1979. I think they signed the contract around April or May 1979, and that was the year that there was politicking. That was the year Shagari won election. So before they mobilized, Shagari was sworn in. When the politicians came in, they decided that that contract was had to be renegotiated. Say the price was high, so they decided to renegotiate the contract. Unfortunately, this went on even after Shagari, even after Buhari Idi Amin regime. It was only during IBB's regime that the contract was signed and the project was started. It wasn't finished until I think 1987. When it was finished, do you know the price at which it was renegotiated was actually $750 million. That's 5 times more than the original 150 million which Obasanjo, signed. Now, this is a major blunder. Why should a contract be delayed for 7-8 years on the pretext of renegotiation when actually there was no benefit? In fact, it went 5 times. Well, we have to look at why this happened and how can we avoid it. The problem is with the Nigerian situation is that there's no continuity. Started in Obasanjo's time, Shagari came, he went. Then Idi Amin, Buhari, it was only during, that's four regimes. This means because there is no continuity, also I think the job of civil servants should have made sure that that contract was completed at 150. No, there was no benefit to the Nigerian economy. Now, the problem with this kind of situation is that because there is no continuity, And also because, you see, government, unfortunately, is in the wrong corner. What we have to realize is that any economic activity has two parts. One part is the content, the other part is the context. Maybe the simplest way of understanding this is when you look at a bottle of water. The water is the content, and the bottle is the context. Now, the job of government is not the content. The job of government is context. They are supposed to make the environment conducive for business to take place. Unless the way to make it conducive was you make sure there is security, you make sure there is rule of law, you make sure the police do their work, make sure the courts do their work, everybody makes it possible for business to take place. Because when these things are not there, there is no business that can take place. And the only way a business can be continuous is if it's profitable, if it's commercially run. That is the only way you can involve banks, because big business is done with banks. If you want to prosper, you want to grow your business, you want to make profit, you have to use banks. And banks will want to see you are in a position to grow, you are in a position to make profit. And unfortunately, government cannot do that, because the job of government is not to run businesses. Like someone said, the government has no business in business. You should keep government out of business. And government is that of, their role is that of a regulator, if you like, a facilitator. Because if government does its work, business will grow. That in turn will make the business become profitable and expand and grow. And the more you grow, the more profit you make, and therefore the more taxes government can get. So it's a kind of symbiotic relationship. If government cannot provide the proper context for business to grow, there's no way any economy will develop. So I think now we are going into elections. The best thing to do is to make sure the kind of person you elect as your governor or your president is someone who can restrict government to its role of providing proper context. Therefore, we have to be careful when next year, when this election takes place, we select the right leaders who will provide the proper conducive environment for business to thrive, to grow, to succeed, to make more profit, so that government can also get more taxes. Now, what happened to NAFCON is not unique. So many other organizations they have faced this kind of problem. And there was one turning point in the history of NAFCON. Sometime, I think it was in the early 90s, because of power tussle within the government, they decided to transfer NAFCON to agriculture. That was a major mistake, because what happened is that the Ministry of Agriculture was almost the sole customer of NAFCON. So if that would be good if Ministry of Agriculture would pay for the fertilizers they collect. But unfortunately, they kept collecting and they were not paying. So the debt in NAFCON started piling. NAFCON started very well, because initially when they started, they were producing even at more than 100% plant capacity. But towards the end, when this fiasco was committed by transferring from Ministry of Industry to Ministry of Agriculture, NAFCON became highly indebted and they couldn't run. So they just stopped producing, unfortunately. That was why the plant was closed. But luckily, when it was privatized to people who were interested in running. Like the the fertilizer company in Kaduna, which was sold to friends or people who just were not interested in running the plant, and the plant has not been running. So anyway, this is the history of NAFCON, and I can bet that there are many other government companies that have faced similar situation. So if you like this, press the like button, share among your friends so that more and more people will learn what has happened in this country. And also will welcome any comment you have. Thank you.